Hi, good morning, and welcome to Craig's Technology Corner, where we discuss all things technology and how it is transforming our world. It's my pleasure today to introduce our guest, Alex Doorduyn, who is VP and General Manager of Siklu for the Americas. Siklu is an Israeli-based company focusing on gigabit wireless technologies in the 60, 70, and 80 gigahertz range, also known as millimeter wave technology. And Alex has been with Siklu since 2015, and he is a 20-year veteran in security and in the wireless industry. He is now focused on leading and creating and executing strategic vision of the Siklu Americas team, and we're really happy to have you here today, Alex. So how are you and how is business?
Good, Craig. Thanks for having me as well. Appreciate it, and thanks for the wonderful introduction. That's quite a mouthful.
Yeah.
Things are good. Yeah, things are great at Siklu. Obviously, year two of COVID now. So it's definitely changed the way we do business. But things are going well for us. Business is going well, obviously, despite all the new challenges that we face today. Really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So today we're actually going to discuss the role wireless technology is playing in improving broadband connectivity, Alex, for the underserved communities. I think many people know it's a challenge today. 90% of the US population is currently covered under broadband technology, but there's also 25% of the rural communities that are not. And if you look at the United States as a whole, there's about 25 to 30 million Americans that are currently not getting broadband connectivity, which is basically at the speeds of 25 megabytes per second download and 3 megabytes per second upload. So relatively slow, right? Speed.
Yep.
So
and also just to add to that, you mentioned rural, but there's also a huge gap in the urban landscape as well. I recently read an article that LA County published, and they mentioned something like over 20% of households in LA County, that's over, I think it was like 365,000 households or something, do not have internet.
Wow.
Do not have internet, full stop. And this is LA County, which is, primarily a very dense, highly built up area, So,
Absolutely.
People typically think it's a rural phenomena, but it's very much not just a rural phenomena. It's also an urban phenomena, If I like to coin it, underserved urban areas. Some people call it digital divide. You could say underserved areas, which covers both rural as well as urban. Sure it's problem in rural, but urban areas as well. And it's quite amazing, in a country like the US, a lot of cities, people suffer from a lack of internet, let alone broadband speeds, but lack of internet, full stop.
Exactly. So given that this is a very serious subject, right, and you work for a very serious company that's doing their best to make an impact and bridge this divide that you mentioned. Can you talk to us a little bit about where the technology is going and how Siklu is addressing the market?
Yeah, sure. So it's a bit of it's a number of issues which I think cities are kind of facing with this problem, right? One is the availability or lack thereof of fiber. Fiber is definitely not everywhere. So where there's fiber, it's obviously easy to provide broadband connectivity to as well as homes, but also businesses. I mean, businesses are really kind of suffering from this as well. And of course, if businesses don't have good internet, what happens? They'll go relocate to an area where they do have good internet, so then obviously the jobs go with that company as well, and I think one thing is obviously transpired with COVID is people having to work from home, people having to study from home, kids having to study from home, that if they don't have internet, it's really having a huge impact on their lives. In the past, they could go to a job, place of work, the kids could go to school. So they could kind of go around the daily lives. Perhaps they don't have internet at home, but it's kind of manageable, perhaps to a certain degree. They obviously can't do everything like stream video and stuff, but obviously where they're having to change the way they conduct their lives, like we talked about at the very beginning of the conversation, it's really, I think shed a lot of light on this problem. So kind of, what is the solution? What other technologies are available other than fiber to try and connect those people who are currently not connected, as you mentioned, bridge this digital divide that we like to talk about. And unfortunately, there are a lot of other technologies out there which can be used and which actually are being used now to address this problem. And Siklu, we're one of a number of companies who have been addressing this problem. We've been addressing this problem for a number of years now, actually pre-COVID as well. We were already working on trying to solve this problem. And I think with COVID, obviously we've seen a huge increase in demand for our types of solutions. And basically, as you mentioned in the intro, we're in the fixed wireless space. We're an Israeli company. We're a market leader in millimeter wave wireless. And what this technology basically allows, cities to do, cities, counties, service providers, a number of different organizations, is to enable broadband speeds internet without having to put in fiber. So rather than having to dig a hole in the ground, laying fiber, which can, as can take months, if not sometimes years, with regards to getting permits. And of course, the cost, you talk about hundreds of millions of dollars putting in fiber, and currently with COVID and the supply chain crisis, even, getting the fiber equipment is extremely difficult. You're talking about maybe, 12 months plus delays in just trying to get the equipment, So there is alternative technology solutions out there, including millimeter wave wireless, the technology that Siklu are market leaders in, So this technology can be used to wirelessly provide gigabit speeds wireless to single family homes, multi-dwelling units, high-rise office buildings, whatever it is. When I say gigabit, I'm not just talking about 25, and 3, we're talking about gig speed plus, obviously single family home, they probably don't need a gig. They'll be very happy with, 100 meg or whatever. But, businesses or a multi-dwelling unit where there's multiple tenants having to share, perhaps a gig. I mean, that's, plenty for everyone, so to speak, if they're working from home, if they're studying from home, whatever it is.
Excellent. Well, that's good. Well, you mentioned digging fiber to lay it. Can you talk to us a little bit about what it takes to deploy a gigabit wireless network in the millimeter wave technology band?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So, a lot is required in the design stage, and you have to kind of design the network. If you're kind of doing a single building, it's pretty easy, like a point-to-point link. Perhaps you have fiber in one location, because at the end of the day, you're going to have to connect to fiber somewhere to connect to the internet. You have to find what's called the internet drain, where there's fiber which you can connect them to internet. But once you figure out where the fiber is, often it's called a fiber POP. POP standing for point of presence, as opposed to a soda. It's a fiber POP. You find the fiber POP, and from there you can span out to cover. It could be it could be a single building, or it could be a neighborhood. It could be a whole town or city wirelessly. So the nice thing about this technology as well, it is very it can be densely deployed. It is expandable. It is scalable. So, you can start off with, a single building, and from there scale up to literally hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of homes within a kind of city type environment,
Interesting.
Of course, there are certain limitations, of course. Millimeter wave wireless does require line of sight. So, it doesn't go through trees, it doesn't go through other buildings, so you have to have a very clear line of sight to, another radio. It's got distance limitations. So it's great for urban areas, rural areas, if you talk about, hundreds of miles or whatever separation, then you really gonna have to put in fiber. But for a kind of shorter area, maybe a few miles type thing, this is a great technology.
So there's only smaller communities.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
It's good for last mile, and certainly, we can do multiple miles. We've done, I think, like 20-mile links in the past. which for as a backhaul, for example, as a core network. If you don't have fiber going into an area, perhaps you don't have a local fiber POP, so you have to bring that connection into the area. You could still do that wirelessly, using a backhaul wireless link. Perhaps from a high-rise building in the neighborhood to another high-rise building. It could be several miles away, and putting in a high bandwidth, like a 10 gig wireless link, to bring 10 gig into a community. From there, kind of fan out into the all to the individual buildings within that area.
Excellent. So can you talk to me a little bit about where Siklu is obviously deploying these networks and making a social impact, whether it's here in the US or abroad? We all know that these communities that are being underserved financially, it can be very challenging for them to pay the $50, $80 per month to actually get broadband if it's available in their community. And I believe using Siklu's technology, you're able to bring that cost down and provide the speeds that are required and needed desperately today in today's market.
Yes, exactly. And it's not just a US problem. As you mentioned, it's definitely a global phenomena, and COVID has been a global phenomena. And we've definitely, helping cities, communities around the world with this issue. I'm going to specifically talk a little bit about the Americas, because that's what my area is, so to speak, and where I've kind of been focused on the last few years, at least. And we're involved with a number of projects. We have been, and we still currently are, a number of projects. We're basically providing connectivity wirelessly into areas previously where they had no internet whatsoever, or in some cases just very poor internet. And this is great. I mean, it's actually, it makes you feel really good when you're providing this type of solution, and you're seeing the results, and you're seeing the results very quickly. I mean, literally within weeks of the project starting, you're kind of seeing that kids are able to get online and do the homework. People are able to kind of work as well from home, and it even creates a sense of community. Sure. And if you like, I'll share. Is it okay if I share a few kind of examples, Craig, of some of the?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay. So I'll share a few that I've kind of been involved with to a certain degree, which I think are really quite interesting. So one of the most recent ones that we're working with is actually a kind of project working with ASU, Arizona State University, in the city of Phoenix, where ASU has kind of been leading this project. They've actually done amazing in this area, and they're continuing to develop this, by the way, not just in the state of Arizona, but also nationally. Where they, in this particular case, there's a pilot project that we did with them. They took a school. It's called Moya School in Isaac School District. So this school is an elementary school where they have fiber. Fortunately, I think a lot of schools, if not all schools in the US, have decent internet. I'm sure there's schools which don't, but I think on the whole they have pretty good internet. So this particular school, they got fiber, they got good internet, but literally around the school, the homes there have no internet at all. And this is a very low income kind of area. So kids were not able to go to school even though they lived across the street because of COVID. So the ASU actually worked with the school district to help them to provide internet free of charge to these homes. So they reached out to Siklu. We worked with them, also worked with the local service provider, and literally within a matter of a few weeks, they put in a Siklu system as a point to multipoint wireless system, basically running from the school across the street, literally to a number, there's over a dozen single family homes, to provide them with internet, high-speed internet, and several hundred megabits per second, literally per home. So very good speeds. And what we found after this project was done, that the kids were obviously able to get online, do the homework, but the kids from neighboring homes, neighboring communities, are actually coming into their homes, maybe their friends, their family, and using the internet that they now have to do their to do their studying, to do their homework as well. So it's not only impacting those specific homes or those specific households, but also the community around them, their friends, their family, their cousins, etc. So the amount of people who are being touched by this is not maybe just a dozen households. It's probably over 100 type people. So that's kind of one example. We're also working with a non-profit company called Digital C in Cleveland. Now, the city of Cleveland in Ohio, believe it or not, has one of the worst number of people lacking internet in the country. In terms of the highest number of people lacking internet in the country, which is kind of quite amazing, really. So this non-profit called Digital C, they've also been working closely with the communities there to provide low-cost internet. So it's not free, but they're providing low-cost internet. I think they're charging about $18 per month for broadband internet, which is actually pretty cheap. I don't know how much you pay, Craig, but I'm paying certainly over $100 a month. So $18 a month is is pretty good. I think in some cases perhaps free. Perhaps if they can't even afford $18 a month. And the way they're able to do this is Digital C, they're actually a non-profit organization, but they're actually getting grants from I think both local, city, states, federal funds, as well as some some generous donors as well. And they're actually using this grant money, and this grant money is literally millions of dollars to actually pay for the infrastructure. So they're using the grant money to pay for the infrastructure. So that's kind of covered. The capital cost is pretty much covered, and then the $18 a month is really just kind of paying for the maintenance of the service, etc. The ongoing operating costs. And they've already connected. Yeah, and they've already connected several thousand households. Wirelessly with this type of solution. So in a very short period of time, and this is ongoing. They're continuing to add communities within Cleveland with this type of solution.
Okay.
So that's kind of a couple. We also work with quite a few different agencies around the country. So in New York, for example, I know in NYCHA, they're using this technology. San Francisco, we've done some work there with the city, providing wireless connectivity for some hostels for homeless students. We've done the same in Santa Monica. We did a project fairly recently in I believe it's North Carolina or the Carolinas, town called Allendale, where again no internet whatsoever in the town apart from the library and the school. And again they're using Siklu provide backhaul wirelessly to provide internet for hundreds and hundreds of homes within that community.
That's fantastic. Really.
Yeah.
Really fantastic. Go ahead, please.
No, I was going to say, one of the big questions we get asked, and what people don't realize, is that there's so much money now out there available, and you kind of mentioned that in the intro as well, to pay for these types of projects, right? There's so much grant money available, both at the the local level, the state level, certainly the federal level now. It's really a question of applying for those grants. So I'm hoping that over the next 12, 24 months, obviously longer, a lot of these issues are being addressed, and everyone is going to have access to this type of service. I think people are almost expecting internet now, right, as one of the key services. So what are the key services? Electric, and water, pretty much. Maybe gas. If you have electric, at least electric and water, probably, right? And perhaps you could say, well, the next one really is internet connectivity. It's we need it for our lives these days, really.
We do, and both of us are aware that the federal government is supporting, at the federal, state, and local governments are rolling out programs to provide internet connectivity, broadband access to underserved markets. There is a program out now called the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program, which I believe you're aware of, and I think you alluded to that,
Yep.
Which is where if your typical rate is $50 or $70 a month, it's being subsidized by these programs to be able to reach these lower income families and markets. A question I have for you, so traditionally the technology was copper originally, right, to provide the broadband and DSL and some of that legacy technology. It went to fiber, right, which was going to really get the T1s and the faster speeds. And then we have this LTE and 5G, and now we've got this wireless millimeter wave technology. How long has millimeter wave technology been around in its current form? And do you have any idea of how much of it is deployed and subscribers that are currently being served by your technologies?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, Craig. So this technology, millimeter wave, has been around for quite a few years. It's actually, I think, originally developed by the military, by DARPA. So I'm guessing now 40, 50 years ago, something like that.
Okay.
Before Siklu came along, it was a very expensive technology. So you're talking about, maybe over a decade ago, you're talking about $20,000-$30,000 for a link, for a single, point-to-point wireless link, and it was maybe providing up to a gig bandwidth. It was extremely expensive. So definitely it wasn't used to provide, broadband to a single family home or anything like that. I mean, it was very niche, very much commercial driven type of solution. Siklu came along probably about 14 years ago, and we are a market disruptor. We were able to bring the cost of this technology down considerably. We developed our own silicon-based chipset, and because we're able to bring the cost of the technology down, we're able obviously to bring the price down to much lower priced levels and really where they are today. And within probably 2-3 years, we became market leaders in this space, and providing wireless internet service providers with millimeter wave solutions, not just in the US but globally. So it's still pretty much a new technology, and that's kind of what attracted me to this industry, by the way, and also to Siklu. Before I joined Siklu, I'll be honest. I was not aware of this technology. I found out about the technology and I thought, wow, this is amazing. You can actually get gigabit speed, wireless without having to put in fiber in the ground. You can get it very quickly, literally within days, very affordably now, and it's just a great solution. And that's kind of the primary reason I joined Siklu about 6.5, almost 7 years ago. Yeah. And obviously since then, a lot more companies have got into the industry. It's what happens, right? New technology, attracts a lot of new incumbents to the market, and the market now is just exploding, really. Even before COVID, it was, but even more so now, really. The latest technology with this type of millimeter wave is actually it's called Teragraph. So I'm not sure if you've heard of Teragraph before, Craig. So this is a technology that Facebook has actually helped develop, helped create. So Facebook, the Facebook that we all know, and some people love, some people don't. But they actually created this technology, and the primary reason they created it is because they want to get more people connected. And they found that doing it wirelessly was the quickest, the most cost-effective way of doing it. They're not out there building radios or anything like that. They help create the technology, and they're basically licensing that technology out to companies like Siklu and a number of other companies as well to develop products around and sell into the market. And that's kind of what we've done.
That's great. So that was a collaboration with Siklu and Facebook. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, correct. Plus a company called Qualcomm. They actually developed the chip. So using a Qualcomm chip, Facebook, a lot of the software behind that. And what this technology, a new solution called Teragraph, basically allows you to do, basically develop products which can provide high bandwidth. When I say high bandwidth, multiple gigabit bandwidth, wireless networks in a very densely deployed using mesh technology at a low price points, at a low cost. So it's an ideal solution basically for single family homes, dense urban areas. So this is very exciting, and I see this technology continuing to develop over the next few years. You know, I see the cost of this technology continuing to come down. You know, as you know, economies of scale, of course, which also means the prices are going to come down. So the return on investments of deploying this technology is going to improve. Plus, I think another key thing is the ease of installation. The simplicity is also going to improve and get better and better. I think to the point where, you know, you as a household can actually go and buy one of these client devices and put it on your house yourself, almost like DIY type thing, you know. So rather than have to get a service provider in to actually install it, you'll be able to let you buy it, put it up, and boom, you've got, you know, broadband internet.
Wow.
I think that's the dream, you know, at a very low, you know, price point. You know, like in the past, you remember the days where people would have a TV aerials on their house, or maybe
antennas
yeah,
like
the
this,
thing, the antennas looked like a little bush, right, on their chimney or something. And then of course it went to satellite, right? Everyone would put satellite dishes on their roof, you know, because they wanted satellite TV. You know, that was like the trend, right? And you'd see these all over the place. And I see a future where it's going to be millimeter wave radios. You know, they're literally small enough to put on your home, and just going to provide you gigabit speed connectivity. You know, if you don't have fiber, if you have fiber, or you know, it could be an alternative to fiber. We're even finding in some neighborhoods where service providers do have fiber, you know, they still have wireless internet service providers coming in there and providing internet wirelessly at a lower cost than the fiber guys. You know?
Wow.
So and the good thing is, you know, it provides choice. So you're not stuck with one fiber, you know, provider, right? Who has the fiber? You know, you can only go to one company. We're not going to name any names, but you know, so they're going to charge you $150, $200 a month or whatever for high-speed internet. You know, wireless internet service provider, you know, could come along and say, well, we can provide you the same service or better wirelessly for half the price, you know, or you know, even a third of the price, or whatever. So it's you know, it's making competition, which is also improving the service, improving the speeds, and obviously bringing the price down as well, you know, and at the end of the day, making it more affordable. So again, it's kind of going around in a big circle, right? It's still helping to bridge that digital divide, because competition, you know, attracts you know, new players to the market and brings the price down, doesn't it? You know.
Right. Yeah. So if I was to summarize some of the things that you highlighted, is that there are alternative technologies today. One of them being millimeter wave technology. These technologies are easily deployable, right, in markets, comparing to the traditional broadband of trenching fiber and doing that. They're cost-effective solutions, right, that people can afford, and it has the potential to be almost a retail product one day, to where you don't have to roll trucks out to do an installation. It'll be something that residents or small business owners can go to a local retail store and purchase, you know, a device and bring it home, and you know, couple of steps and they've got internet connectivity. So that
exactly,
that summarize basically some of the highlights.
Yeah, okay, exactly. That last one is like the goal. I don't think we're quite there yet with it, but I'd say within the next 12 months to 2 years, that's where we're going to be at. Yeah,
that's great. That's great. Okay. Last but not least, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask this. So because Odgers Berndtson, the firm that I'm with, and I'm a partner in the technology practice, when it comes to labor and it comes to the skill sets required to deploy this technology, support it, maintain it, and grow it, right, in the market, how do you see the skill sets evolving that are going to be required by field technicians, pre-sales engineers in general, to make this a reality on a broader scale, based on what you said?
Yeah, so that's a really interesting question, Craig, and actually it's one close to my heart as well, because I'm pretty passionate about training and development, particularly for young people. I'm a new dad. I got a 4-month-old baby at home, so you can see how his world's going to develop over the next, several decades. So one thing, about this technology, general wireless, it does require obviously certain skill sets. It's certainly more of a networking skill set, an IT skill set. Obviously a little bit of wireless knowledge as well. I haven't to maybe obviously align radios perhaps in some instances, but certainly you're dealing with switches and routers and it's a general IT kind of skills. I'd say that typically requires a high level perhaps of skill set. And if you're trenching is obviously more civil works. It's definitely a different type of skill set. Obviously, civil work does require a lot of skill set as well. Obviously, basically drilling, making holes in the ground to lay the fiber, etc. Right? And obviously, you've still got the fiber endpoints, but it does require a pretty high skill set, which I think is good. Because it does encourage people to develop those skills. So I'd say it's definitely a skill type of professional required. Obviously the different levels, right? With the text, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I was kind of thinking about this as well a little bit. And today, as you probably know, young people are just so IT savvy, right? I mean, they're all, online, all working with computers literally every day, and certainly far more than myself and my generation, So this is something I think they typically pick up very, very quickly, very, very easily, I know we're a member of an organization called WISPR, the Wireless Internet Service Provider Association, and they're actually, I was talking with them recently about this actual very topic, and they're looking at doing some kind of courses more in terms of training, perhaps looking at apprenticeships, for example, for kids coming out of college, they want to get into this technology, we'll learn about wireless, etc. So typically it does require, I would say, IT skills. IT skills are pretty important. IT skills are important everywhere, so there's kind of certifications, but apprenticeships in particular, I think, would be very useful. I know a lot of our customers that we sell into, the service providers, they're literally doing in-house training for their technicians. We typically will hire experienced professionals, so people who have installed this type of equipment. They'll join Siklu and they join our professional services team because they've already done a lot of this kind of stuff. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it anyway.
Okay. Well, great. Well, look, I think this was a really insightful call. I really do appreciate you taking the time. I know that there is an organization out there called Fierce Telecom. For those of you that are watching this video, you can go to www.fiercetelecom.com, and on there you can find all of the different government, state, local, federal programs that are available for addressing funding for building out internet access in these underserved communities. So with that,
Exactly.
Alex, I'd like to thank you for your time. I felt it was very informative, and look forward to keeping in touch with you and talking to you again soon.
Thank you, Craig. Thanks for inviting me on the call.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.
Bye now.